Battle through the heavens, grand world. Chapter 122. A beauty that brings disaster to the world. Xiao Yan did not pay much attention to the small episode just now. After a few turns, an extremely large square appeared in front of him. Cauldrons were arranged neatly on the square. There were nearly 1,000 of them at a glance. At this moment, there were many alchemists guarding an alchemist on the square. They were all focused on pill refinement. For a moment, the cauldron flame soared into the sky and it was very lively. The alchemists wearing all kinds of alchemist robes were shuttling back and forth in the square. Xiao Yan's heart couldn't help but move. He took a deep breath and leisurely walked up to the square, and started to stroll around. As he walked on the square, he could smell an unusual pill fragrance coming from time to time. Then, a few cheerful voices could be heard. This meant that someone had successfully refined a medicine pill. However, most of the time, the pungent smell and some people's lamenting voices were omitted because the medicinal ingredients had been reimbursed. Refining a medicine pill in this noisy place indirectly increased the willpower of an alchemist. Sigh, there's an alchemist refining a tier 4 medicine pill over there. Let's go and take a look. Just as Xiao Yan was strolling aimlessly, he suddenly heard a sharp voice. Some alchemists in the square heard this and excitedly followed the voice. Grade 4 medicine pill. Another alien realm soul alchemist. Xiao Yan pondered for a moment, then followed the crowd. As an opponent who was about to participate in the competition, it was better to pay attention to him, and at the same time, let him feel the strength of an alien realm soul alchemist in the great world. At this moment, in a corner of the square, a pill refining platform was surrounded by many people. In front of the medicine cauldron on the platform, a handsome young man was sitting cross-legged. Even though he was surrounded by dozens of people, the young man's expression did not change at all. His eyes were staring at the medicine cauldron in front of him, and his fingers were moving quickly. Under the young man's control, strange medicinal herbs were inserted into the medicine cauldron. The flame within the cauldron. Under the control of the young man's powerful soul force, the flame was burning with the most appropriate temperature. Very quickly, the dozens of medicinal ingredients that were thrown into the medicine cauldron had all turned into medicinal liquids. He sank into the bottom of the cauldron. What a skilled technique! Looking at the strength of his flame control, it seems like his soul force has already advanced to the alien realm for a period of time. Among the spectators, there were naturally some powerful ones. When they felt the soul power of the young man, they couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. A stone created 1,000 ripples. When the crowd heard this, they immediately began to chatter amongst themselves. The sudden loud noise caused a tier 3 medicine pill refining master beside them to be distracted. The slowly burning flame trembled, and the medicinal herb that was being refined immediately turned into a lump of black slag that was automatically discharged from the mouth of the furnace. The young man acted as if he didn't hear it. His mind was highly focused, and his 10 fingers quickly changed. Dozens of differently colored medicinal liquids leapt out from the bottom of the cauldron, and under the control of the young man's powerful soul force, they slowly condensed together. At the same time, the enormous origin monarch key in the former's body also crazily surged out from his hand, following a specific trajectory and injecting into the embryonic pill that was forming. At the crucial step, the surrounding crowd couldn't help but hold their breaths. The young man stared at the final step of the young man with full concentration. The young man stared at the embryonic pill that was slowly forming. The rapidly changing 10 fingers suddenly withdrew. The origin monarch key that were crazily surging in also stopped in an instant. After which, the young man curled his finger in front of everyone's stunned eyes. A tier 4 medicine pill embryonic pill flew into the former's hand. What's wrong? Seeing that the young man had voluntarily given up on the tier 4 medicine pill that was about to be successfully refined, most of the onlookers looked at the former with stunned gazes. The young man stood up and glanced at the surrounding doubtful expressions. He smiled lightly and did not explain. He only cupped his hands towards the crowd and said, "Thank you for your support, my southern forest city's Li Lin. Today is just a small test. We will compete with you in the competition 5 days from now." After saying that, he pushed the crowd aside and walked out. Looking at the back of the young man, Xiao Yan couldn't help but sigh in his heart. This fellow couldn't help but have a strong alchemy skill. His disposition was also not simple. Refining a Tier 4 medicine pill required an extremely huge amount of Origin Monarch Ki. If a Monarch spirit wanted to refine a perfect Grade 4 medicine pill, he would need to consume at least half of the Origin Monarch Ki in his body. And using up more than half of the Origin Monarch Ki in this kind of treacherous situation was obviously not a wise move. It was just as the former said, it was just a test run. His gaze looked at the surrounding crowd. Naturally, there were some alchemists who could see the meaning behind the young man's actions. All of them laughed softly before they left in a straightforward manner. I am now able to refine a Tier 4 and 2-star medicine pill with the strength of an alien realm soul. That fellow called Li Lin just now. He should be refining a Tier 4 and 2-star medicine pill, even if he has retained his strength. I think that he can only refine a Tier 4 3-star medicine pill. If I include the Emperor Flame and the unique conditions of the Fighting Monarch of Lower Realm, I estimate that I can refine a Tier 4 5-star medicine pill. But the Origin Monarch Ki that can refine a Tier 4 5-star medicine pill might not be enough. Walking aimlessly on the plaza, Xiaoyan's head spun rapidly as he assessed his own strength. At the same time, he compared his own advantages and deficiencies as he calculated how to resolve it. I heard from Bai Qian that the previous champion of the pill competition refined a Tier 4 5-star medicine pill. However, this time around, he is only able to refine a Tier 4 5-star medicine pill. It is likely that he will not easily win. He thought for a moment. Xiaoyan helplessly patted his head and laughed self-deprecatingly. What's wrong with me? I haven't started the competition yet. He was actually starting to worry. There were so many storms in the lower realm that he had to face. How could the tiny pill competition trouble me this time? There will always be a path ahead of me. It was useless to be anxious now. He had to take things one step at a time. Xiaoyan raised his head and found himself on the other side of the square. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he suddenly heard a cold voice coming from not far away. It was a very familiar voice that made Xiaoyan frown. Bai Qian, she is actually here. Hearing the cold voice that contained some anger, Xiaoyan followed the voice and looked over. He saw two alchemists wearing black robes laughing as they surrounded Bai Qian. The latter had a cold expression and wanted to leave. The two men tightly pressed against each other and wrapped around Bai Qian, not letting her leave. It is indeed a femme fatale. However, there are really scum there. Xiaoyan chuckled when he saw this, then he rushed forward without hesitation. Putting aside everything else, Bai Qian was his teammate. Xiaoyan could not just sit there and do nothing, not to mention. Although Bai Qian had treated him coldly in the beginning, these few days, the two of them had gotten along pretty well, and from Bai Qian, Xiaoyan also knew a lot of things. Without any hesitation, Xiaoyan stepped forward. How about it, Miss Bai? You will compete with us in alchemy. If you win, we will give you the treasure that we just bought. If you lose, you don't need to pay any compensation. You can only play with us in the pill competition. How about it? A young man with a fat face looked at the cold Bai Qian in front of him. His eyes were full of lust. He swallowed his saliva and said in a lewd manner. Bai Qian immediately flew into a rage when she heard this. She held back the urge to slap the fat face in front of her. She also knew the opponent's strength. His soul strength had already reached the alien realm. Even in the spiritual sky city where heroes gathered, he could be considered as one of the top young alchemists. He was not someone that she, a peak true monarch stage, could compare with. Without looking at him, her pretty face turned cold as she said, "Get lost." After saying that, she bypassed the two of them and was about to leave. When the young man who had spoken earlier heard this, he sneered. This was the edge of the plaza. Very few people came here, even if there were. Everyone was a young man in his teens, full of vigor. They were all quite interested in this kind of thing. They would only watch from the side and no one would stop them. Immediately, he gave a look to his companion beside him. The latter laughed softly. His figure flashed and once again blocked in front of Bai Qian. The young man whose face was full of fat quickly extended his hand. He grabbed Bai Qian's arm. Since Miss Bai is unwilling, then. Ah! The young man who was talking suddenly screamed. He quickly let go of Bai Qian's arm and stepped back. The pain on his hand made him suck in a breath of cold air. The young man endured the pain and looked at the black-robed young man next to Bai Qian with a vicious voice. Do you not want to live anymore? Xiao Yan let go of the hand that was holding Bai Qian's arm. He laughed lightly and said coldly, I think you do not want to live anymore. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.